Greetings, young squires. This is Sir Rolland, a faithful knight to the one true light, and you're listening to our series on how to face, fight, and defeat the 7 deadly dragons. We're in the middle of a discussion on the indigo dragon of gluttony named Gula. Today we must learn to wield the weapon of virtue that will help us master these small acts of kindness, and that weapon is temperance. Temperance means to have self-restraint or moderation. It comes from the root word temper, which we're all familiar with. Think of the word temperature, which also has temper as its root word. Extreme temperatures means it gets excessively hot or cold, which we don't like. We like moderate temperatures. Moderation has the same root as moderate. So temperance is about avoiding extremes. When we lose our temper, it means our emotions or anger get out of control, as we discussed with the blue dragon of wrath. When we fall for the lies of the yellow dragon of sloth, we hit the other extreme and have no passion or energy at all. Greed, or the green dragon, is about wanting excessive stuff or getting out of control in our desire to own more things or have more money. And when it comes to gluttony, or the indigo dragon named Gula, we need temperance to help us avoid excessive eating or drinking or allowing our appetite to get out of control. Temperance is a form of self-discipline that can help us against all these dragons. And the word discipline comes from the same root word as disciple. We want to be disciples of Christ. And Jesus told us to do that. We have to pick up our cross. We have to deny ourselves certain things that feel good now so that we can reap a greater treasure later. And temperance is a weapon that can help us do just that. What's that, you asked? Which medieval weapon did I choose to represent temperance? Great question, young squires. You are catching on, which is good because this is the 6th dragon we've discussed in our series of 7. For those of you who are new, let's review. See how I just rhymed there? I am matching each virtue we discussed with a medieval weapon that can be used to slay a dragon. For the red dragon of pride, I use the sword to represent humility. For the orange dragon of envy, I use the ballista to represent admiration. For the yellow dragon of sloth, I use the spear to represent zeal. For the green dragon of greed, I use the trebuchet to represent generosity. For the blue dragon of wrath, I use the dagger to represent forgiveness. And for the indigo dragon of gluttony, I have chosen the battle axe to represent temperance. Why a battle axe? Well, I think most of you are familiar with an axe. This is one tool that I still use quite often to chop wood. And of course the wood is what I use to make fire. And of course the fire is what I cook over. So it only makes sense to choose the axe to represent a virtue that helps us moderate how much food we eat. Plus, I get quite a workout swinging that axe, and it helps me burn off all the calories that I eat in the food. What's that, you asked? How would an axe be used as a weapon against a dragon? Another great question. You're absolutely right. We're talking about weapons here, so I need to do a better job of helping you visualize how temperance can slay a dragon, not cut wood. Well, in my research on battle axes, I discovered that people in the past actually used them in many different ways during a battle. Sometimes they would use the axe as a secondary weapon. Just before an army would charge, they might throw a bunch of axes to break the shields of their opponents. Or axes are very heavy and funny shaped, so even if the blade didn't hit the enemy, the force of the impact could cause significant damage to the armor, and if the axe bounced on the ground, it could go in any direction. Kind of like my golf clubs as a kid, my friend's golf clubs that he would throw when he hit a bad shot and the blue dragon attacked. Axes flying in all directions could really distract the enemy and break down the defense so that your charge could be more successful when you come in with your sword or lance or spear. So you see, this is kind of like using the enemy's own weapon against him. The indigo dragon is a dragon of distraction. He's trying to get you to think about food as a source of comfort and happiness and hope instead of relying on God. Oftentimes we get addicted to food or drinks or drugs because we're trying to distract ourselves or hide from pain or stress or anxiety or even boredom. So temperance is the battle axe that will really break down this dragon's defense. And by mastering the virtue of temperance, you can then charge and attack and conquer this dragon by fasting and prayer. By the way, I'd also like to point out that fasting helps you escape from the yellow dragon of sloth as well because, he's slow. Bada-bum-bum. Anyway, and Lent is a time of intense straining to slay these dragons and build up our temperance muscles. So the church tells us to really ramp up our fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. But we should all continue to do some form of fasting through the whole year. I give up meat on Wednesdays and Fridays all year round. And that's a pretty big sacrifice for me because I like meat. But remember what St. Therese said. Don't just do sacrifices to help yourself build self-discipline. Offer up your sacrifices for the salvation of souls, and be sure to do it with great love. My challenge for you this week is to look for at least one opportunity each day to make a small sacrifice and deny yourself in some way. So stay holy, young slayers, and until we meet again, I'll leave you under the protection of St. Michael the Great Archangel, St. Joseph the Terror of Dragons, and Mary, Queen of the Angels, Our Lady of Grace, and the woman whose seed crushed the head of the dragon.